got some shitty horror film on TV.
And why are you so suddenly bothered by cheese? Any recent horror movie has more depth than the garbage you watch.
Opinions, viewpoints, and beliefs presented on this program do not necessarily reflect those of the management, the affiliates and broadcast partners, or the sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
Scarefest Radio, the radio you can see.
And welcome, everybody, to another episode of Scarefest TV. I'm your host, Wes Forsyth. Our guest tonight, Mr. Christian Bachini.
Hello, everybody.
I'm trying to get somewhere between my Kentucky accent and saying that actually correctly. So that's the best I can do, everybody. The original broadcast date, February 24th, 2023. Christian was the... My God, man, do you just not like people? You did everything on the short by yourself. You wrote it, you produced it, you directed it, and you starred in it, dude. I mean, you have no friends that would even, did like your mom have to hold the camera? I mean...
Yeah. As hard as it is to believe, I had some help, but not as much. And actually, that's where the short came from. Like, I was living in Shanghai, working in action movies. I tell you a little bit of backstories, and I help a lot of people for free, right? Even sometimes doing stunts or action directing, acting for free. When it came time to shoot my own, let's say, directorial debut, I asked some producer to help me out and some friends to, help me shooting. And most of them were like, no, we're not doing their own shit. And I'm like, oh, thank you, guys. And that's how Escalation came to be. That's why I'm torturing the guy, and he's an asshole. I imagine all these people condensed in one character and say, I'm going to fucking kill this motherfucker. All of them, like, embodied by this person, torture them as I would love to do it in real life. I cannot do it. I made it into a short. So, yes, I did that myself.
That was a much better story than I was looking for in that. Everybody, okay, I'm just going to tell you. Escalation, it won the short, the best short for Scarefest 2022. As far, I need to go back. All the judges loved it, except one put a question mark on it. And I need to go back and actually see who that was. Because I have, in other words, it was so far out of place with what everyone else said.
Okay.
Heck, I think, what all did you get nominated for? I think you,
I honestly, my festival run has been so long, I cannot really remember. I think like also acting.
Yes.
Like best actor, and then I got like best kill scene.
Did you get the nomination for best kill scene? Okay, yeah.
Yeah. I got like a Scarefest was really good to me. Like I remember, I cannot really pinpoint actually all of them, but I got a lot of stuff.
It was like, once again, everybody. The only thing wrong with this short was that it was too short. 15 minutes did not do it justice, and we're going to talk about that. He's going to explain a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But here's the bio on it, everybody. Let me get movie voice going here. In the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, Chris, a paranoid and self-centered man, is happily avoiding all human contact, preferring to escape from reality and whatever's on TV. When a friend reaches out to him to confront him about his past promises, Chris has to decide what kind of person he is inside, or it may just eat him alive. There, that's as good as I can do.
Yes, indeed. Very good. Amazing performance.
It was okay. Now, this is another thing I liked about it, because it did reflect the times, the COVID-19 pandemic. I honestly only, of all the movies that played on that theme, there was only one that I liked better, flat out, as far as for that reason.
Okay.
Piper, Pence, and the Pandemic, because that one, I don't know if you've seen it. She made,
No.
that was the same year as yours, basically, and that's because she tricked me into thinking she was talking about COVID, and it was a fucking zombie outbreak.
Okay,
So,
nice.
so I did enjoy the irony.
I like
of
the
that.
twist, yes.
Yeah. But other than that, yeah, okay, now quit gushing, Wesley. I'm going to let's go ahead and talk about well, first of all, how old are you?
I'm 36.
30. Okay, well,
Yes.
because everybody, I'm really being creeped out here because he's just too young and good looking, and he's stealing the screen all the way from me. I saw it. I was reading about your trip and down to the about in Shanghai, and I want to hear about that. This is gonna be my really weird lead in into that. After many years spent in Shanghai, when I read that was in his bio. After many years spent in Shanghai, and I looked at you and your picture and I said, he doesn't have enough years to spend many years anywhere. Could you? Yeah. So, but okay. I can see you squeezing out what you would call many years.
Yes, I'm kind of Nicolas Cage. You know, they say he's a vampire, so I look younger. I drink like baby's blood, so I keep myself younger.
Don't say that in Hollywood. Well, you're not in Hollywood. But
no, I'm joking. I'm joking.
Yes.
And then I'm from Italy. I know all this thing going on in America. I'm like, sorry, I'm from Italy. So I curse a lot. I make a lot of stupid jokes. You just take it or just sorry, Hollywood.
So I made the mistake when the COVID pandemic hit, setting down some of those rabbit holes, and reading about the Hollywood celebrities eating babies and all this stuff. And then
that's a fun story that goes on also in Asia. In Asia, they say the Hong Kong actors. Sorry, I know a lot of actors from China and Hong Kong, and I love them all. I send them like my best records. But there is a story that, like, especially the actors in Hong Kong, they keep very young looking. There are some that like 59, 60, and they look like 40, early 40s. And people say, yes, they drink like baby's blood.
Oh, yay. Hey, yay!
I will try. Tomorrow I will try. I will try to find me like some baby's blood somewhere. I don't know. I'm not going to tell how I'm going to find that.
Back in my day, we just had to sacrifice a virgin, but then those got too hard to find.
Okay. So, I guess virgin's blood is overrated now. It's like it's not making you younger as the baby's blood.
I don't know if it doesn't work anymore, or they're just too damn hard to find. I mean, we're down to ugly third graders at this point.
Maybe these guys got hard to find. I don't know.
Oh,
you may be correct.
So anyway, let's see. I actually made notes here when I watched it again today. Okay. Let's start out your early film career. Now I take it. Okay. At age 23, you moved to Asia in order to pursue your dream of becoming a martial arts actor. How'd that go?
Yeah, it went pretty well, I have to be honest. You know, when I was like, obviously for like it was the same as with Jackie Chan was moving or trying to, break out in Hollywood in America, in the West, and Jet Li were trying to do the same. So it took them a few years, right? You're a foreigner, go to a different continent, a different country, try to break into the industry, a different culture. So it wasn't obviously like easy peasy, to be honest. And most of my friends, before leaving, I was super young. They're like, "Oh, you're gonna go there, and nobody's gonna be wanting to work with you because you're a foreigner. Why they should let you, direct the action scene?" I just didn't want to be an actor. I also want to be like an action director, create my own fight choreography. So I had my own philosophy about how action should look like on screen. So I was like, I'll just go and share my ideas and see if someone gives me a chance. I was never worried about it being hard or not. And obviously, it wasn't easy peasy. When you go where basically they make the best martial art movie ever, obviously there is challenges, right? Asia, you take any country, Thailand, Japan, Korea, China, Hong Kong, they do the best martial art films ever. People really get hurt. The stuntmen are some of the best in the world. So you go and you're like, you are basically need to introduce yourself in the most competitive sector you could ever expect it to be. So I just went and just believes me, I love Asian culture. I've been studying since I was 8, Chinese martial arts. I just want a chance to prove that I can do action the same way you guys do, mixing with some, foreigner, Western martial art, boxing, MMA. And so I went there and going from small roles and extra even, some stunt work, easy stunt work. And then I just it went pretty well. That's why I stayed 12 years. I got to do some acting roles, some leading roles in some action comedies, and then action directing, fight choreography. So it went very well until recent years. Then for certain reasons, I decided that maybe it wasn't the place to be anymore for me, because many things were going on in my life, and I always loved horror movies first. When I was a kid, with my dad, we watched all kinds of horror movies. And my mom was like, "Stop showing our son these freaking horror movies, these bloody, gory horror movies." And my dad was like, "Don't worry, I'm going to skip through the gore parts." But then, when I was 6, I got into action movies. Like spaghetti western from Italy, Die Hard, Commando, Stallone, Schwarzenegger. Right. And then one day I saw a Jackie Chan movie called Super Cop. And when I saw Super Cop, my love for action and, martial arts, see Jackie Chan just running on train, fighting on train, hanging from an helicopter. I was like, wow, this is an amazing job. It's so fun. And I can do all the things that I want. And that's why I started training martial arts with the idea. I was just a kid, like 6. It's like, I'm going to go to Asia and be like Jackie. I want to make the action movies and create the crazy stuff. But then when I was in Asia after 6 years, suddenly I started watching more and more horror. I found myself getting bored of action movies somehow. And after a year, hey, I'm watching just horror films. I'm really just watching and enjoying horror movies now. And so I figured out maybe my main passion was always the world of horror and scares, ghosts and demons. And so I decided to leave my Asian chapter behind. And Escalation was my business card to come back to the West and start working in this new genre.
Now, real quick before I go to commercial break, how serious were you about the idea behind Escalation?
Serious in what sense?
About being pissed off at nobody wanting to help you make a movie.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer that any negative thing that happens underneath the surface is a positive thing. I truly believe when shit goes down, and I've been through some hard shit in my life, and you think wow, this is really terrible. Even before going to China, one example, and then I know you have the commercial going, but I broke 2 weeks.
We're cool.
Okay, 2 weeks before going to China, I worked for 2 years, being a martial art teacher to make some money, buy my ticket and go to China, start this adventure. 2 weeks before, I landed badly as I was shooting a short fight scene to show to the producer in China, and I broke my ACL. I completely tore it enough. Without an ACL, any athlete, your knee twists. You cannot throw kicks, you cannot do flips. And doctors say you can't do sports. You're done. You need to get surgery, rehabilitation, and then you can go. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to freaking cancel my ticket. They're going to give me the money back. I went with the broken knee, with the broken ACL. I worked for the first year until my knee broke on set. One day just twisted, and I had to like with crutches back to Italy to get surgery. But that was bad, right? It was, oh, wow, so unlucky. But then it was what made me stand out when I was like talking to the stuntman on the action director. Like, this guy, they saw my knee twisting. Like, why is your knee shaking? Like, I don't have the ACL. And they were like, this motherfucker is crazy. He doesn't have a freaking ACL. Like, okay, something we never seen before, at least from like, maybe the Western perspective, when everybody's like, oh, I need to get good and go back to work. And that's why they gave him the nickname Kang. That means to counter and resist, face all odds. That kind of made me the crazy Italian guy that wanted to make martial art movies. So it was very negative, but it was turned into a positive for me. Same with the producer. If it didn't piss me off, and if I didn't find myself alone, probably Escalation would not have been born. And now he's doing great, and he was born as a feature. Now I'm evolving it to a feature film. So actually, from very bad thing, it came out pretty good. So how serious I was? No, I wish the guys all the best. I love them. I wish they're gonna keep doing their movies, whatever they want to do. And I'm doing good myself, so it's okay. But I enjoy killing the guy on screen. Then.
Okay, let's do our first little commercial break, everybody. This is gonna be a quick one. I want to tell you about one of the Scarefest sponsoring vendors. Scarefest sponsoring vendor, Shadows of Legend, the podcast. Shadows of Legend. This is hosted by Charles Roman. You can find it at shadowsoflegend.com. Check it out. He's got, oh my God, he's got such a better voice than I do. But Charles Roman is an author, columnist, and award-winning journalist with over a decade of experience researching and bringing the stories of real people into the public eye. Each story deserves 100% objectivity and zero patience. What did I just read? Object and 0% judgment. Anyway, point is, watch it and there it is. Hey, and while you're on there, shadowsoflegend.com, look at the February 5th episode. It'll be a nice surprise for you. Seriously, February 5th, shadowsoflegend.com. But we do thank Charles for being a sponsoring vendor of Scarefest 2023. And I'm back to Christian Bachini. Do people still call you Kang?
Not really. Now, just like in Italy, because I worked briefly in Italy for 1 year. Just in the 12 years I was in China, I barely went back. My parents were drove mad by being not showing up. I kind of disappeared. But I went back for like a year, and I worked like in TV, like do some like adventure game, host some game shows. So they kind of call me there. They still call me Kang.
Okay,
but not.
Okay, now I'm gonna hone in on. Okay, I barely speak English myself, and I've lived here all my life. Your English is excellent. I'm assuming if you spent 12 years in China, that your Chinese got fairly good over time.
Oh yeah, Mandarin definitely.
First, where did you learn English?
I used to hate school because since I was 6, I just wanted to be an actor and make movies and do crazy stunts and martial arts. So I really despise school. Kids, don't listen to me. Go to school, learn whatever you want to learn. I don't care. Latin is a dead language, but maybe it can turn out good if you need to exorcise a demon or something. So yeah, and English was the only language I was studying. So at school, obviously, we didn't do much in Italy, but there were like a couple hours a week where you would study English, and that was the only thing that I would study. Like seriously, like I was really into it because I knew I wanted to move away from Italy. Because in the 70s we had great horror movies. Sergio Leone made the great westerns. Poliziottesco, the mafia movies, and then everything died. So I knew that if I wanted to become like an action actor or make even horror, Italy was like the last place I needed to be. Freaking romantic comedies or some drama shit wasn't what I wanted as an actor or director. So by knowing I would have needed to leave like eventually for the US or Asia, as I decided in the end, English was like a must for me. That's why I had to learn it. And the same happened with Chinese. I knew that if I would be able to speak Mandarin, it would make it way easier for me to interact with the stuntman. And if I had like the chance to direct a fight scene or a car chase, I could do it in their own language. That's why also Mandarin, even if I learned it by just like living in China. I never studied seriously. And English, I learned it perfected, so to speak, watching movies in original language, like American movies without dubbing. And that's how it came to be.
From the chat room, someone's asked, when they think about Italian horror, they think of
Lucio Fulci.
Fulci. Hey,
yes,
beat me to it. Who are your inspiration? What inspired you growing up before you kind of sunk your teeth into it? What movies really inspired you? What directors inspired you?
Well, I have to say that as much as I love the Italian horror director like Lucio Fulci, Dario Argento, like Deep Red, The Beyond, all these like crazy gore movies, gothic movies from Europe in Italy, I think my main inspiration when it comes to horror is like definitely Sam Raimi. Sam Raimi, his Evil Dead saga, the use of camera work, and then I think Peter Jackson. I love Peter Jackson, like the Lord of the Ring trilogy, but for me, like Bad Taste and like Brain Dead, his original low-budget horror films are like masterpiece of filmmaking. And even when he did like The Frighteners with like Michael J. Fox. So I would say horror-wise, they are the two most influential directors for me. And then from Italy, Sergio Leone. Yeah, I think like Sergio Leone, the spaghetti westerns, they were like, for me, like probably, I'm sorry for the American Western, which is amazing. They are amazing, absolutely. But, Sergio Leone, the trilogy of the dollar, like Once Upon a Time in the West, amazing filmmaker. So I would say these are my main inspiration.
And, okay, now, I'm going to start talking about the actual short a little bit, some little things I noticed. First of all, now, when you edit it down to the short, I'm going to say most of the action, as far as horror action, was done with a meat cleaver.
Yes.
Now, first, I'm going to say meat cleavers creep me out, even if they're not on camera. I don't think you could have pictured or could have chosen, I don't think you could have chosen a better instrument to get across what you were doing. But
I'm glad you think so.
the scene, okay, everybody, I don't want to do any great spoilers here, but I'm going to tell you, it's almost a horror movie trope where the fingers get cut off. And that's in horror movies, that's in gangster movies.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I'm just going to say beanie weenies. Beanie weenies. And see if anybody catches on in the chat room to what I'm talking. In other words, he didn't just cut them off. It was absolutely dreadful and very well done. To follow up on that though, how did I word that here? Oh. And I think, I don't even know where I got this line from. I think it came from the trailer, but what does evil taste like? And when I say evil, I actually mean a prosthetic hand and blood, and fake blood.
It's like shit, man. I can tell you that. It was like awful, like obviously latex, like fake fingers. Okay. And then at that point in the shoot, it was so far out because to shoot Escalation, it took me like 30 days. It took me a whole month because the original short is 28 minutes. So the version that got to your festival or that's going to the festival is the festival cut. The director's cut is way longer, more gore. So by the time I went to the ending, it was almost like 30 days. And the blood that I had bought was rotten by the time. It was so hot in the summer inside the location that it rot away. And I couldn't just spend more money on other blood, and I didn't have time. So all the blood that you see me munching, it was like basically, it went sour and bitter. It was supposed to be sweet. And so to try and make it taste better, I put some honey on it, like, self-made blood with honey. You do this like food coloring, but then it tastes even worse. It was so bad, and the smell was so bad of the whole blood and stuff that when I shot the scene that you're mentioning, where my fingers get kind of severed in a very unique way, like a couple of members of the crew, they ran out of the location and they threw up. And I had to lay down there with the freaking prosthetic in my mouth and say, where the fuck is the camera operator? Where the fuck the guy go? Like, he's throwing up. He's literally throwing up. Wait 5 minutes. It's like, fucking hell, I'm not throwing up and I'm chewing on my own freaking fingers. So it was pretty intense. Evil tastes like I don't fucking know what. Shit.
Oh, that was good. How many people on average were on set with you since you chose to do all the hard jobs?
Yeah, it
how
was
many people actually?
like 7 people, 7, 8, sometimes 6. Yes, I in the end, I want to give kudos, obviously, to the people that helped me out. I actually, when I start shooting, because as you see, Escalation is like very ambitious in the cinematography, the look. Mm-hmm. I wanted to make it look like a big budget Hollywood horror film, like something that would come out of like James Wan productions or like Blumhouse. That's why it took me a long time, and I was very specific. I would do a shot 30 times. You know, when I get possessed and I move like a sort of like a puppet, I did some of the shot like 60 times, 37, 40 times. And so at the beginning, the people that I found, I was paying them, obviously, they left. Even if they were getting paid after 1 week of shooting, like, this guy is crazy. This is too hard. I don't want to fucking shoot it. We don't do like this in Asia. We shoot fast. We make feature film in 10 days. And so I lost people. I kept losing, like, first the first camera operator went away, and the first gaffer went away. And even the special makeup person that was supposed to help me out with the practical effects, she refused to help me on the set. In front of everybody, she went like, no, you don't have money, you don't have time, and I don't believe the effects are going to look real. So I'm not fucking helping you do that scene. When the finger broke, that was the scene she was complaining about. So I'm like, what can I say? So you know what? Go in the other room, sleep it off. I'll get it done myself. But by the end, I had some more friends coming in that stick with me until the very end. I had one guy that was doing camera work. I was the cinematographer, so he didn't really need to think about just following my instructions. But still, I was making him doing all these camera movements. It wasn't easy. And he stuck with me for like the whole length of the shoot without asking for any money. I say, I will pay you something. He's like, no, I trust you. I like what you're doing. I help you until the very end. And so kudos to him. Luo Xuan is like his Chinese name, and kudos to all the people, those like 7 souls that stuck with me until the very end, while other people kept leaving.
The finger scene totally looked real, dude. Totally looked real.
Yes, the funny thing about that, and after I shot it, because there's no point in getting angry with people on set. I like to keep like a happy mood. So after that was done, I just replayed the shot, because also it's done in one shot. Like, so I called the makeup lady, like, come over here, look at this. She looked at it and she just like apologized. And I said, okay, now you can leave. I'll finish it myself. So it was like, done with politely, but, it's good to show when people, I told her, like, in the 80s, Sam Raimi was doing crazy gore with nothing. It's 2021, 2022. I can make this look realistic. I don't need freaking millions of dollars to make gore look realistic. So you have to revise what you think about makeup should be.
Okay. Everybody, it's time for our bottom of the hour commercial break. We're going to do a quick commercial break. We're going to come back. I got a celebrity announcement. A celebrity announcement for Scarefest 2023. So we will be right back.
Horror. Movie. Fans. For. Life. On Facebook. Find us. For watch parties. For news. For memes. For friends. For life. Horror movie fans for life. Join us.
And tonight's announcement for Scarefest 15, Scarefest 2023, Scarefest weekend. Terry Alexander, Day of the Dead, Conspiracy Theory, The Last Call Lace, 45 entries on his IMDb, but he's coming to us for Day of the Dead. We're getting a pattern going there, people. Day of the Dead. putting together just a little bit of a reunion there. Next thing I want to tell you about, of course, we announced Pablo Escobar is coming last week, but don't forget, Saturday, tomorrow, Saturday the 25th, we are a bunch of the Scarefest loyalist aficionados, fans, however you want to call yourselves. A bunch of us are going down to the Kentucky Theater in Lexington, Kentucky, getting together to watch it on opening weekend. So Cocaine Bear, 7:30 tomorrow. It's been on Facebook, some spots, but do go ahead, call, reserve your tickets. It's apparently doing pretty good. Apparently, everybody, this isn't as bad of a movie as some of y'all was expecting. And my opinion was, if it's half as good as the credits, it's going to be awesome. But apparently, it's doing really, really good. So Pablo Escobar will be at the Kentucky Theater tomorrow if you want to meet him. And watch Cocaine Bear while you're there, 7:30. The Scarefest Horror Film Festival for this year is taking entries now. If you have a film, a feature or short film, and you're running the show circuit, as they say, film festival circuit, give us a look. Just go to the website, scarefestweekend.com, click the film festival link, and get it uploaded there over on Film Freeway. The Central Kentucky Mystical Market, Lexington's premier monthly psychic and holistic event, is coming up in March 18th and 19th. March 18th and 19th is still at the Clarion Hotel, 1950 Newtown Pike in Lexington. It is still going to be in the paddock room, until we announce the change. Speaker applications are open, and they've been rolling in this year. We've been getting a lot of speaker applications this year. So there's going to be some disappointed people because we only have the one stage. But if you want to take a chance and get to our speak to our crowd, celebrity speaker applications are open. Just go to scarefestweekend.com and tell us what you want to talk about. And we're back, everybody, with Christian Bachini. Okay. Yeah, I already did the beanie weenie note. Okay, so what? Now this is one I asked most people to come in here with a short. What was your primary goal in this short? Did you look at it as I've kind of already gathered from you. You was just, would you call it a passion project, or did you have a financial outcome? Hopefully, when you made this movie, beyond just making the movie, what was your ultimate goal?
Well, I think mostly I just wanted to make it a complete showcase of what I could do as a horror filmmaker or a film director in general, as an actor. That's why I also wasn't scared of taking on many roles myself. So I think because filmmaking is an art form, but at the same time is a business, right? You want to make money off your projects. And once you make money, it's like you give the audience what they want and they pay you back with their cash. So it's also business. It's not just art. Mm-hmm. Art is also, it means to make money. So for me, it was just as it was born as a feature film. So I had the full script for the feature film before making the short. I just couldn't make it on my own, with my own saving, without any help. That's why I condensed it. I took one scene of the script in the beginning, the kitchen scene that you see in the short. It happens in the first 20 pages of the script. That's the opening of the feature film. And then he evolves in this trip into madness. And this guy, will he live, will he not? So I just wanted to, because I knew it was probably the only chance I would have to do what I wanted as a filmmaker, to show producer or whoever, the audience, what I can do. I knew it couldn't have been a second time or a third time. It was so tough already the first time. So I said, I have to go all out and make it exactly as I want it to be. Perfect as I want it to be, so that when people see that film, they can just say, okay, he's a good filmmaker. We can trust him with the money, with the budget, and the audience love his movie, or he's a bad filmmaker. I just needed to make sure that people would understand A or B. So for me, it was like a business card. this is what I am as a filmmaker. And so more than a fashion project was just like my foot in the door in the West as a horror filmmaker that now I aspire to be, instead of like an action guy.
And looking at all the little laurels on the trailer and on the website and what the reviews that I heard on it, I try not to spoil it too much, but it sounds like everybody else kind of liked it too.
Oh yeah, it's being very successful, and that's why I'm very happy. And I also got because the trailer was also, some laurels are not on that. The trailer was like this very beginning of the festival run. Right. I also got like best short film at the Flickers Rhode Island Film Festival, which is Oscar qualifying. So I also got good recognition in non-genre festivals. So, a lot of like best short, best directing, and very good reviews. So I think, and the audience, that's why I try to be present at most of the festivals, and because I just want to see the audience reaction. Because that's what really tells you, okay, the product that you're going to make, will they sell? Will they make money in case some producer or investor give you the money? And yes, when you see the audience reaction and people go like, oh my goodness, and they laugh at the jokes, then it's going good. It's doing good. And that's why I'm pretty satisfied. That's why, even with the people saying, leaving the set, say this guy is crazy, it's not going to work, why you have to make a short film so perfect? I always tell them, you guys leave. I don't care. I know why I'm making this the way I'm making it. You just sit and watch, and I was right. I can say I was right.
Now, is it still running the film festival circuit?
Yeah, it's still running the festival. As strange as it may seem, it's still having like strong legs. I'm like right now, I will actually, if I can spoil some festival, it will be like a Renegade Film Festival in Atlanta, which is like also a major one, beginning of March. And then I'm gonna be at the Garden State Film Festival in New Jersey end of March. And then I'm in a festival in Spain, Pielagos and Cortos, which is one of like a big short film festival in Spain. So it's still going very, very strong.
Great.
Pretty satisfied.
You kind of already touched on this. I realize. Okay, what do you have on your radar right now, other than just riding this horse till it drops dead underneath of you? Because it's doing so good in the festivals, that's and you try to go to them. What have you? How am I going to word this? Have you already put your eyes on anything else to do, or are you just wanting to go ahead with fulfilling this to your original vision? Where do you go from here?
From here, I think I also always kind of take it easy, and I see in the sense I see many filmmakers that stress out once they do a short or even like an indie feature and it's successful, then they got stressed out, or where am I gonna find the money? What do I do now? I always relax. I'm like, if the project is good and there is the passion and you showcase some talent, eventually things they're gonna work out. So I just let it go at the festivals, be present when I could, and so he's bringing me some feature film projects now. Actually, maybe one feature film project is like a horror sci-fi. It's called Hunting Skies. So actually, it's it's a big project. Takes place in a spaceship. He has all kinds of monsters. So actually, this project kind of came to be by talking with the directors of the film festival in Europe. So this one may happen before the Escalation feature film. So Escalation brought me some attention from some producer investor, okay, what's next for you? And as I said, Escalation, the feature, which is very violent, is very gory, and the feature film script touches on a lot of also child abuse. It's very intense. It's not a movie that just laugh and fun. So they were like, okay, anything else that can be more commercial, still your style, gory, but maybe more fun to watch as your first debut. So now he's leading me to this trilogy of horror sci-fi project for Hunting Skies again. So I'm working on that. I already wrote the script for the first feature, and then Escalation, it's gonna be delivered as a feature, maybe within a couple of years, 3 years. So I'm just sticking to my plan, just not focusing on, because some filmmakers are also stubborn. This is my story. I want to make, for example, Escalation has to be my debut feature. I was kind of like that, maybe thinking, but now see how things are going. I can just I just want to step into the feature film realms and start making stories that I'm passionate about, obviously. And whatever comes first, is gonna come first, and eventually Escalation I want to make into a feature because I plan it to make it like probably like the goriest movie ever made, and which also touches on some topics that are kind of like important. So it's a cool thing that I want to get done.
Okay, well, make it the goriest movie ever made. So what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to decompress what I saw in 15 minutes into a feature film length. And if you could keep that momentum going for 90 minutes to 2 hours, that would push the envelope, I have to say.
Yes.
Because, yeah, there was a lot of fake blood on the table, people. A lot of fake blood on the table. Let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and talk about another one of our sponsoring vendors, Holiday Glass Studio. Holiday Glass Studio. Everybody, you can play the home version. Go to holidayglassstudio.com. But remember, there's 2 L's. It's easier to go to scarefestweekend.com and just click the link from the featured vendor page. Because you don't realize it till you spell it out, but there's like 2 L's, 3 S's, but Holiday Stained Glass Studio. Creative stained glass for any vision. And if you don't think, you see the logo, the little graphic there. Yeah, that's a spooky one, Wicked Stained Glass. But okay, go to their website, scroll down. They're not ashamed of it, people. This is stained glass in a horror theme. Their first collection they have popped right up on their website is called The Wicked Collection. And there's Michael Myers, Angel of Darkness, Pyramid Head in stained glass. It's really, really neat. So check them out online, please. They're one of our sponsoring vendors for 2023. Holiday Glass Studio. Creative stained glass for any vision.
Hey, Scarefest fans, it's Joe Lewis at Bonehead Weekly, and this week I want to be a little nostalgic. I did this kind of the other day when we were talking about Old Man Griffith, but picture it, 1999. Now, 1999, some people actually consider to be the last great year of cinema. It's the year we got Fight Club and The Matrix, just to name a few. And we did almost a 2-parter on this on Bonehead Weekly about all the films that came out in 1999. I want to talk about 2 specific ones that are horror films that not only do I love, even though they've changed over time of how I feel about them and how much I do love them, but how important they were to me at the time, because I just, I was going out with some person and it was the same person the first 2 times, and it doesn't matter. But the first one came out at Halloween, and it was directed by William Malone, Bill Malone to his friends, so I call him William. He's actually been on our show too. It was the House on Haunted Hill remake with Jeffrey Rush. And I loved the movie when I saw it. And I rewatched it the other day along with the one we're going to talk about. And it's aged mostly well. There's a few little things that don't quite work anymore. But the thing is I keep going back to all the great actors in it and the great performances in it. Even though it's kind of a flawed movie, it's still much better than, I'm on the outside of it's a William Castle film called House on Haunted Hill with Vincent Price. Now, people think Jeffrey Rush was playing Vincent Price in this movie. He wasn't. He was actually playing John Waters with a pencil thin mustache and stuff. The only problem is him playing John Waters makes everybody think he's playing Vincent Price. It's William Malone told us the story on the show, and he actually talked about it on the commentary for the movie, if you ever watch it on the DVD, if you have a DVD player. I still like the movie quite a bit. There's some great visuals in it. It's probably William Malone's most accessible film. It was his most successful. And basically Dark House was just one of those companies that was meant to redo and it was the same company behind Tales from the Crypt, same people, and they were just going to do William Castle films, use a ghost ship and whatnot that came out later. But this is the first one. And I like it a lot. Now, second one of that year that stands up just as well, if not slightly better than when I originally watched it, is a Tim Burton film. And people, I think, forget that Tim Burton did the best, with the second best, my first is still the Disney one, adaptation of Washington Irving's The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. I love it with Johnny Depp. Now, I know we're not supposed to talk about Johnny Depp anymore. He's kind of got a little back into vogue, but he's not quite there yet. I still love this movie. And actually, except for Big Fish and maybe a few other things. I wasn't crazy about Wednesday. It's one of the better films I've seen. It's actually one of my favorite Tim Burton films. And the reason is my dream was always to make a Headless Horseman film. As some of you know, I'm just a filmmaker. Never got to do it. But to me, it's one of the best adaptations. Not only does it have Johnny Depp and Christina Ricci, some of the best British character actors of all time. Go back and watch it. I mean, we have Christopher Lee in this movie, okay? Well, we were missing was Peter Cushing and Vincent Price. Check it out. If you haven't seen Sleepy Hollow in a long time, it still holds up. It's hilarious. There's a drinking game to be played with Sleepy Hollow about how many times you take a shot every time Johnny Depp passes out from something that he doesn't want to believe or see, and you will be schnockered, just snookered by the end of the night. So think about 1999 and go back and watch House on Haunted Hill and Sleepy Hollow. I recommend them both. I don't know that either movie could get made today, specifically with the budgets that they had. This has been Joe Lewis of Bonehead Weekly.
And welcome back, everybody, to the last few minutes of the show. Christian Bachini is our guest tonight. He wrote, directed, produced, and starred in, I don't get to say that very often, but Escalation. So if you get a chance to see it, anybody or everybody, if you're at one of these film festivals and or close to them, and you get an opportunity to step off the convention floor or however they do other festivals, do check it out. Now, movie stuff aside, Christian, what do you do in your free time, or do you just spend all your time traveling around the world?
In my free time, let's say when I was in Italy before moving to Asia, I was just like, obviously I had to go to school, obviously, and then I would just training martial arts. I was an athlete, so I was doing competitions also. That was like my main stuff. And then I teach like for a couple of years, 3 years, like I was like a martial art instructor. I opened my own association with a friend. So I was going through schools, teaching to like kids, children, and do martial art classes. And then when I went to Asia, I was like, most of the time, full time, trying to get projects done, helping people shooting their movies. So I was like mostly trying to be a filmmaker full time. And when I went back to Italy, same. And right now, I mean, I was kind of like, I say, smart enough when I budgeted Escalation to know that one important part of the process of getting like noted or like noticed by some producer or investor would be me present at the festivals or traveling a little bit. So I my savings, I kept half of them for traveling. So within last year, my free time is just me traveling around and now getting these new scripts done. So I could never like always deviate from doing what I like. Even if like, you know, I was like low on money and I was in Shanghai, I would say, okay, who needs me? Who needs me? Do you need me to come and hold like a freaking light? Pay me that much. I come and hold the freaking light. That was like me. I just wanted to be involved in that, always be in that kind of environment.
Well, I mean, great for you, but it kind of sucks too. I mean, you're working. Don't work. You're a young man. Don't work yourself to death. You've got plenty of time for that. Okay. Now we talked about your early influences. What's out there now that excites you? Surely you get a chance to watch a movie every now and then.
Yeah, no, I'm a big believer in keeping ahead with the times. So watching movies because you want to kind of like know the competition, so to speak. So to see what other directors are doing, you want to always be upgraded. I met so many film directors in Italy or in Asia. They were like, oh, they were doing action movies. And they're like, oh, are you watching the new action movies coming out from here, from there? Like, no, I haven't watched any of them. I haven't watched an action movie in 5 years. And I was like, no wonder your freaking action movies looks like some shit from the 70s and not in the good way. It's not like a cool movie like freaking Bullet, like because they didn't keep themselves updated with the time. So I try to watch movies as much as I can, and not only horror or action, like comedy, drama. I just want to like watch good films, good storytelling, because I'm a firm believer that storytelling, the script is the key. So I shouldn't be saying this because obviously I plan on working in the industry in the proper way. But nowadays, movies that really excite me, especially when it comes to horror, almost like for me non-existent. Like I find them so, especially the stories, the scripts, they lack the wit or the genius that was like making movies in the 70s, the 80s, even the 90s, like milestones in horror filmmaking. Right now, I see any movie that is suggested to me, I go watch it, I may enjoy it. But by the end of the day, I'm like, I know this movie now is popular. Within 2 years, nobody will remember it. But you take Duel from Steven Spielberg, and everybody will always gonna remember Duel. They will always gonna remember Jaws, for example. So I think like now like there is a lot of first of all a lot of content, like so much content is being poured out, especially in the streaming networks, that the attention to sort of quality script wise is really lacking. So I shouldn't be saying this now as I'm like want to get into a certain industry, but that's how I feel. It's even some movies I'm not gonna make names, and they're like, oh, the twist at the end of this movie is so incredible. I walk into the theater, and after 20 minutes, I already know how it's gonna end. It's like it's not new. I think people that think those are exciting are people that are not maybe younger. They're not familiar with the old school horror that really made history. Like there is, you can as much as like Scream is gonna be always the king of slasher films. The slasher that they're making now, they don't hold a candle compared to the original Scream to me. Just like so that's how I feel about. So I'm looking for something to excite me, to be honest.
Now I'm gonna let you pile on here a minute because I do this. How do you feel about all the remakes, all the reboots and the remakes? Sequels I can go along with if they actually stay on the rails.
I mean, there are some fantastic remakes. Like if we start from The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing was a remake of the movie from the 50s, but that remake made sense because it was completely different era. Sorry, the 50s they were like black and white; they didn't have many special effects. So remaking a movie like The Thing in the 80s, when you have all these practical effects, was a genius idea because it would have been something so different. And some modern remakes, I always remember, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Marcus Nispel from 2003, or like The Hills Have Eyes, Alexander Haya, director from France. Those remakes are amazing, in my opinion. They may even stand their ground compared to the originals. So remakes, they can work when there is like a long ass span of time between the project. Now I just heard they want to make the new Lord of the freaking Rings. You don't fucking need to make that. Peter Jackson is still alive. He's still kicking ass in his movies, and it's still good. So I don't believe remakes hurt the movies in any ways. They can be done, but personally, as a filmmaker, I don't want to direct the remake of things that were created by somebody else. That's my approach as an artist. Why would I just want to tell my stories? Human creativity is so amazing. You can always come up with new shit. So why, instead of giving money to people who are creative and want to create new stuff, why you keep making the old same stuff that was already good to begin with? And the artists, the directors, why you keep accepting making the remakes? I would never be happy to, let's remake, I don't know, another Night of the Living Dead. It was already so great, the original one. And the Tom Savini one was fantastic as well. What's the reason for me to remake something? I believe any filmmaker or artist should just write his own stories. So I'm not really on board with remakes and reboot. I'm more on board with sequels. I can take a sequel any time of the day, even if now they're kind of messing up a lot of franchises. But I think sequels are more honest.
Okay, now last question. Let me go ahead and get a question in from the chat room. Your personal favorite style of horror? Gore, meaning gore, dread, paranormal, torture, slasher. I mean, when it gets right down to it, what holds your interest on screen?
That's a very hard question. I don't think it can be categorized specifically. I don't really have a preference. So my love for horror, like I am big fan of Night of the Creeps from the 80s. I'm a big fan of the Monster Squad. I'm a big fan of Ghostbusters. As I said, I love Duel from Steven Spielberg. I love Jaws. I love Evil Dead. All of them, they keep me interested. So I cannot really say I love this specific genre. I just like good storytelling. And maybe what attracts me most to the screen, it's the ability of keep the tension up. That's why what I feel like also movies are lacking nowadays. You know, even the original Scream, which was like sort of like a commentary on the slashers, and was also like very how to say timely as a film, but kept the tension high, right? It kept the tension going. Like so, I love that kind of vibe where I'm always like on the edge of my seat. Nowadays, a lot of movies, that's why I feel like I'm less interested. Sometimes when the dialogue is going on, you know, like, okay, nothing is happening. I can chill. I can chew my popcorns. I can go take a bathroom break. Movies like Jaws, Scream, like Nightmare on Elm Street, you're always like this. You're always like, holy shit. Even when the characters are talking, every second counts. Everything that is happening is vital to drive the story forward. Nowadays, there is a lot of filler, I believe. And that's when my interest got kind of lost. So I wouldn't know which one is my genre. I just say tension, like tension, tension, tension. And that's what keeps me hooked to the screen. And that's what I try to make with Escalation. You know, in the beginning, you don't know what's going on. And you're like, this guy is awful. Why am I watching this like toxic motherfucker? This arrogant piece of shit from Italy? What's going to happen? And then when things start to escalate, I keep you hooked the whole time. I never let you go until the very end. So I think creating tension is like my main attraction, any kind of horror.
Now this one, I'm going to kind of shift gears off of horror a minute. Okay, you were previously a big fan of action movies.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm still a fan of action movies now, but horror, I think, is like is more fun. It's more fun.
The one trend in action movies that absolutely, I'm not saying it's never useful, but some of them went so far as to shoot the movies nowadays in, I want to call it sepia. In other words, the color's off because it hides the CGI better.
Mm-hmm.
And the shift in actual action movies, I mean, you spend half the movie or half the interview talking about Jackie Chan. I mean, his CGI budget was, very, very small. Does it, since you haven't watched one in 5 years, you're probably the wrong person to ask. How do you feel about the progress of so-called action movies? In other words, are they following similar trends where they don't hold your interest, or the shift to CGI? Do you see a problem with that?
I would say like actually action movies. I watch action movies. I've seen. I pretty much have on time with everything. I'm updated on action and horror, so I love stuff. Like I watch the Fast and Furious movies. I love them, for what they are, popcorn fun. You just need to take them for what they are. I love Liam Neeson, like revenge thrillers. I love, the Gray Man, any kind of action movies.
Was that any good? I haven't watched that yet.
They're pretty good. I have to be honest. Action, actually, I think is the genre that now is still very interesting for me, more than horror. Horror, the scripts are, as I said, is the problem in the storytelling. There is less attention to the story that you are telling. And in horror, that's the key, because in horror, you're talking about things that come from other worlds. They're not real. So if your story is weak, everything is going to be boring. It's not going to be remembered. But action, you can always salvage even a mediocre script with great action pieces. And action set pieces is going to always make the movie entertaining. Like Avatar 2. I don't know if you saw Avatar Part 2.
No, I haven't seen it. No,
it's completely CGI, and the story is nothing. And there is something that maybe, like people may like, oh, that didn't really click. But the action is fabulous. It's a masterpiece of action filmmaking. I love it. And James Cameron has always been one of the greatest action filmmakers ever. Terminator 2, Aliens, anything that he touches when it comes to action, True Lies, it's amazing. So actually, action movies, I think they still hold the ground pretty well, and that's why they always make money, right? I feel way more safe go watch an action film than a horror film. Now, when I have to go in a theater and watch a horror film, I'm really worried, like, oh, will it be any good? When I go watch an action movie, I'm kind of like, okay, it will probably be cool. I know what to expect. Plus, Koreans are making amazing action movies, like these very gory mobster films with a lot of action. The Ip Man series from Hong Kong. So I think action is still going strong. And CGI-wise, I'm not big fan of CGI. Like, as I was saying, this horror sci-fi story that I'm working on is going to be mostly practical. All the aliens, the creatures, I really want to go practical because done properly with the proper amount of time, it looks amazing. Mm-hmm. But CGI, when it comes to action, sometimes your creativity, your imagination is so big. Realistically, you will kill like 100 to make the scene. So using the proper way, special effects and CGI can improve your storytelling, as long as they don't go overboard. As long as it don't become like, suspension of disbelief cannot happen because the action scene was so crazy, impossible, people don't believe it. But it can be beneficial, even if modern action movies, they use CGI, you compare them to the original Die Hard. Die Hard is always going to be the freaking king. When he fucking break the window with his bare feet, come on, that is real. You cannot fake that.
I go along with you. I'll go along with you. Christian, thank you so much for coming on tonight. I've really enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you, Wes, for having me.
And everybody, once again, keep your eyes open. If you named a few, tell them again some of the film festivals that are coming up that they'll be able to see the movie.
Oh yes, Renegade Film Festival in Atlanta is going to be beginning of March. I think Friday the 3rd is going to show Escalation. So the Renegade Film Festival in Atlanta, the Garden State Film Festival in New Jersey. And then, in Spain, Peliagos and Corto is going to take place in Spain. And I have another bunch lined up that a little bit more far away. I don't remember, to be honest. But yeah, keep an eye online and see where Escalation is going to show.
And everybody, you can, he's got a Twitter account, he's got a Facebook, and you've got a website for the movie, right?
Yeah, the website, I'm not really updating it anymore, but I will. No. So it's www.escalationmovie.com. So escalationmovie.com, you will find all the infos and where Escalation is showing. I will keep it updated.
I made more work for him. Everybody, this has been Scarefest TV. Thanks for tuning in tonight, and we'll see you next week.